Nuclear power was once called the energy of the future. Limitless, clean, unstoppable. By the mid-1980s, the Soviet Union had built dozens of reactors, symbols of progress and pride. But on one night in April 1986, that pride turned into catastrophe. At Chernobyl, a single test spiraled out of control, triggering the worst nuclear disaster the world has ever known. This is not just the story of an explosion, it is the story of human error, silence, sacrifice, and a legacy that still haunts us today. April 26, 1986. Just past 1:23 in the morning, a quiet Ukrainian night turned into a nightmare. At the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant, Reactor 4 exploded with a force so great it hurled a 1,000-ton steel lid into the air. Radiation, invisible and merciless, poured into the sky. Within hours, the disaster would poison a city, destabilize a nation, and change the world forever. Pripyat, just 3 kilometers from the plant, was a proud Soviet city. It was young, built in 1970 to house the plant's workers. By 1986, nearly 50,000 people lived there. Tree-lined boulevards, schools, a cultural palace, even a soon-to-open amusement park promised modern life in the heart of Ukraine. To its people, Chernobyl was not a threat. It was progress. The reactors powered homes, factories, and the promise of Soviet energy independence. Workers believed they were part of something historic, an achievement that showed the world the strength of the USSR. Families thrived. Cafes buzzed. Children laughed in playgrounds. No one imagined that in just hours, their city would become a ghost town, that their apartments, schools, and playgrounds would be abandoned forever. The invisible enemy was already waiting. On the night of April 25th into the 26th, engineers prepared to test Reactor 4. The goal seemed simple: to see how long turbines could generate power after a shutdown. But the RBMK reactor design was deeply flawed, unstable at low power. At 1:23 a.m., operators disabled critical safety systems. Control rods were withdrawn too far. Power surged to over 100 times normal. 2 explosions followed in rapid succession. The reactor's core, filled with graphite, ignited into a firestorm. Concrete walls shattered. The massive reactor lid, weighing more than an airliner, was thrown aside like a toy. Graphite blocks, burning at 2,000 degrees Celsius, scattered across the roof. A column of radioactive smoke rose more than a kilometer into the sky. This was not just an accident. It was the largest uncontrolled release of radiation in human history. When the alarm was raised, the firefighters of Brigade No. 6 rushed in. They were told only that a fire had broken out. Armed with hoses, ladders, and courage, they raced into danger. Lieutenant Volodymyr Pravik, just 23 years old, led his men onto the reactor roof. Flames licked the night sky. The men worked without protective gear. They had no idea the glowing debris beneath their boots was radioactive graphite. Within minutes, they felt it. Metallic taste in the mouth, nausea, skin burning as if from the inside. But they did not stop. They battled the blaze until their bodies could fight no more. That night, dozens were hospitalized with acute radiation sickness. Many never left the hospital again. Families would later recall how their loved one's skin turned dark, their organs failed, and their strength disappeared. These men became the first heroes and the first victims of Chernobyl. The explosion was only the beginning. In the days that followed, Soviet leaders tried to hide the scale of the disaster. Radiation alarms sounded as far away as Sweden before the world learned the truth. To contain the reactor, helicopters dropped sand, lead, and boron from above. Later, hundreds of thousands of soldiers, miners, and workers, known as liquidators, were sent to clean up. Many received lethal doses of radiation. Economists estimate the Soviet Union spent the equivalent of $68 billion on containment, resettlement, and healthcare. More than 350,000 people were permanently displaced. Farmland the size of half of Italy was contaminated. But the true cost was political. Chernobyl shattered trust in the Soviet government. When citizens discovered the cover-up, anger spread. Historians argue that the disaster accelerated the collapse of the USSR itself. Today, the Chernobyl exclusion zone stretches 30 kilometers around the plant. Entire villages lie frozen in time. Abandoned homes with dishes still on tables, schools with books open on desks. Yet nature has reclaimed the land. Wolves, lynx, and wild horses roam where humans cannot. Forests grow through concrete. The land is both poisoned and reborn. For scientists, Chernobyl remains a vast laboratory, teaching lessons about radiation, ecology, and resilience. For the world, it remains a warning. Technology without safety is a weapon against its own people. Chernobyl was not just a Soviet disaster, it was a human one. A lesson written in fire and ash. And as new reactors rise across the world, we must remember, history does not forgive those who forget. This was Chernobyl, 1986, the invisible enemy. There are many more hidden histories waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe us, like and share this film, and support us as we bring you more stories the world must not forget.